This video is about drop factors. This is how to calculate your IV infusions when you do not have an IV pump with you. It will help you on your medication calculation exam. It will help you on clinical and as your wonderful life of being a nurse. So it's a good tool to have in your pocket. So the actual drop factors are designated by the manufacturer of the IV tubing, and you'll see something like this on your IV package. So this is 10 drops per milliliter. We can't change that. This tubing is only capable of administering 10 drops per milliliter, and this one over here is 60 drops per milliliter, sometimes called a micro drip, but we can't change that at all. So that is actually how the tubing is made. And you see 10 or 15 or 20 or 60 drops per milliliter available in different tubings. Whatever hospital you're in might have one or two, or who knows, all four of them wherever you are. And we're just going to show you how to calculate your infusions given those tubings. Now, this formula right here is a really basic formula that if you hate math, you should memorize this formula and get to know it and get comfortable with it. If you're really good at math, I can show you other ways to make this formula faster, but I don't like to confuse anyone in these videos. So I'm going to show you just this very, very basic one. Here's the deal. So you have to have your hourly rate here, and sometimes you're not given the hourly rate. So as I mentioned, early on in first semester, sometimes you have multiple problems within a problem. For example, calculating a weight, right? Sometimes you have to calculate the hourly rate in order to complete this problem, and this is one of those situations. So you calculate the hourly rate, and we're going to add that drop factor number in. Remember, that's the number given to you by the manufacturer, your IV tubing, 15, 20, 30, or 60, and we're going to divide that by 60 minutes because we have our hourly rate divided by 60 minutes. That's going to give us our drop factor per minute. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and see how this looks. We have an IV that's infusing at 75 milliliters per hour with a drop factor of 15. So I know my hourly rate here, they gave it to me, 75 times my drop factor is 15, and I'm going to divide that by 60. So I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to do 75 times 15, and that equals 1125, and I'm going to divide that by 60, and I get 18.75. Now, we know that we can't give 0.75 of a drop. So I'm going to look at this number right here, the tenths, because I want to round it to the nearest whole number. And because that number is 5 or greater, I'm going to round this up to 19 drops per minute. Okay? So fun. Okay, I have 100 milliliters in 1 hour. Drop factor of 10, and this is beautiful. So I have an hourly rate here. It's 100 milliliters because it's 1 hour. So I'm going to do 100 times 10, and again, I'm going to divide that by 60. So 100 times 10 is 1,000, okay? And I'm going to take that 1,000, and I'm going to divide it by 60, by 60, and I get 16.66 repeating. Okay, and again, I want to look at that 10th value to see what I'm going to do with my whole number. And because it's greater than 5, I'm going to round this up to 17 drops per minute. Yay! Little celebration. All right, next one. I have 500 milliliters over 6 hours with a drop factor of 15. So now I do have to calculate my hourly rate. So this is how that's going to look. So we say milliliters per hour, right? Well, we're going to remember that and make that line a little bigger, and I'm just going to write 500 milliliters over 6 hours. That's going to give me my milliliters per hour rate. So I'm going to take 500 and divide that by 6, and I get 83.33 repeating. Now, I don't want to put 83.33 into that formula because my hourly rate is going to be rounded to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to look at that 0.3, and because it's 4 or less, my hourly rate is 83. Okay, I'm having a little TIA here for a moment. My hourly rate is 83. Okay, so I'm going to take that hourly rate of 83 and I'm going to multiply it by my drop factor of 15, and I'm going to divide that by 60. So here we go. So 83 times 15 equals 1245, and I'm going to divide that by 60. And I get 20.75. And again, I'm going to look at the 7 here, and I'm going to round this up. So I'm going to have 21 drops per minute. Woohoo! So much fun. Okay, let's keep going. Now I have 750 milliliters over 6 hours. 750 milliliters over 6 hours. Let's divide that out. 750 divided by 6 equals 125 milliliters per hour. I'm going to use that my formula, 125 times my drop factor, which is 15, and I'm going to go ahead and divide that by 60. So 125 times 15 equals 1875. I'm going to divide that by 60, and that equals 31.25. I'm going to look at that 2 to see where I'm going to round, and I'm going to keep this at 31 drops per minute. Okay, I have 1 liter of normal saline over 4 hours with a drop factor of 10. So 1,000 milliliters. I'm going to go ahead and just convert that right now. 1,000 milliliters, because I can't put liters in my equation, over 4 hours. And I know that that makes my hourly rate of 250 milliliters per hour. 1,000 divided by 4 is 250. And I'm going to take my 250 and multiply that by my drop factor and divide that by 60. So I have 250 times 10, and I'm going to take that 2,500, and I'm going to divide that by 60. And that is going to equal 41.66 repeating. I look at that 6 and I round to 42 drops per minute. So fun. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, now it's time to practice, because that was just the practice before the practice. So here we go. Now we have an actual problem here. We have SOSIM, 1.3 grams and 100 milliliters, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I want to know what is my hourly rate. Okay, I blah, 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 because I want to know what the question is asking me. I don't like to waste too much time reading all the little details. I'm looking for hourly rate. So the truth is, I don't care what's in my fluid, right? I don't care. Not right now. Not for this question. What I care about is I have 100 milliliters that's going to infuse over 30 minutes. Now, I no longer have a whole hour like we were just doing with rates per hour. There's 2 ways that I recommend that you can do this, okay? You can either change your minutes into a fraction of an hour, which would be like this. You have 30 over 30 minutes. Over 60 minutes. That's going to tell you how much 30 minutes is over 60. And when you divide 30 divided by 60, you get 0.5. That's your 0.5 hours. And in this case, what I would do is I would write 100 milliliters and divide it by 0.5 hours. Okay, so if I do 100 milliliters and I divide it by 0.5 hours, my hourly rate is going to be 200 milliliters per hour. Okay. The other way to do that is my favorite, is the clock method. Okay, so the clock method, remember, works for 10, it works for 15, 20, and 30 minutes. So I look at 30 minutes and I say, how many times does 30 go into the clock? And it goes twice, right? I have 30 minutes here and I have 30 minutes here. How many milliliters do I want to infuse in 30 minutes? I'm glad you asked. It's 100. I'm going to write 100 there. I'm going to write 100 there. I'm going to add those together, and it's 200 mils per hour. Okay. The clock method is wonderful because you can do it in the bedroom without a calculator or even a piece of paper. And there's lots of ways to calculate this, but these are the 2 ways that I recommend the highest. Okay. Just to kind of be quick and clean. So now I have my hourly rate, which is 200, and I'm going to multiply that. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the first answer here, is 200 milliliters per hour. And now the next question is asking me how many drops per minute with a drop factor of 15. So I'm going to multiply that by 15 and divide that by 60. So I have 200 times 15. That equals 3,000 divided by 60 is going to equal 50. 50 drops per minute. Oh, I have a little typo right there. It's not drops per milliliter, it's drops per minute. Oh, no, that's correct. 15 drops per milliliter. How many drops per minute? Okay, there you go. All right, let's keep going. I've been doing a lot of math lately, so we're going to keep going. All right, so I'm going to go right here. What is my hourly rate? So that's what I'm going to figure out first. I got to go back to the question. I know my volume is here. My time is here. I have 800 milliliters that I want to put in 4 hours. And when I divide 800 by 4, I get a rate of 200 milliliters per hour. So you're just dividing 800 by 4, which is 200. So that is my answer. 200 milliliters per hour for the first question. How many drops per minute? I need my drop factor. So I have 200 times my drop factor of 20, and I'm going to multiply that by 60. I'm going to go to my calculator. 200 times 20 equals this, and I'm going to divide it by 60, and it equals 66.66 repeating. I'm going to look at this number right here, and I'm going to round that to 67 drops per minute. Okay. Let's see, determine my rate in mils per hour. Again, I don't care how much vancomycin is in there. I care about how much fluid and how much time. I have 500 milliliters in 2 hours. That's going to equal 500 divided by 2 is 250 milliliters per hour. So I'm going to write that in here, 250 milliliters per hour. Drop factor, again, 250 times, what's my drop factor? Times 10, and I'm going to divide that by 60. So 250 times 10 equals 2,500 divided by 60 equals 41.66 repeating. Look at that 6. We're going to round that to 7. I'm sorry, we're going to round this number to 42 drops per minute. Okay. Drop factor 20, so my drops per minute. I have 1,000 milliliters to infuse in 8 hours. So 1,000 milliliters divided by 8 hours. Let's do it. 1100 divided by 8 hours equals 125 mils per hour. Take my 125, multiply that by 20, divide that answer by 60, and I get 125 times 20 equals 2,500 divided by 60. Ooh, that's a popular number, 41.66. All right, I'm going to look at this 10th value and round up to 42, and I already have my label here, so I don't need to label it. 42 drops per minute. All right, 2,500 milliliters, 24 hours. So 2,500 milliliters in 24 hours. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm getting my hourly rate there, 2,500 divided by 24 hours equals 104.166. Okay, I'm going to look at this 10th value here, and I'm going to say my hourly rate is 104 milliliters per hour. And I'm going to take that 104 and I'm going to multiply it by 10 drops and divide that by 60. 104 times 10 equals 1040 divided by 60 equals 17.33 repeating. Again, look at that 10th value. I'm going to keep that down to 17. I've already got my label in there, 17 drops per minute. Yay, we reached the end of this video. So I thought that was a really good time. I hope you did too. If you have any questions, send me a message. Come see me. I'd be happy to review this with you privately or in a math lab or over the phone or Zoom. Anytime you need help, just let me know. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.